Welcome to Your Family's Health, the program that focuses on healthcare issues with unique and different modalities for taking charge of your health today. Experts talk weekly with our continuing roster of guests from around the country and right here in Nassau County to keep you up to date on the latest health issues and trends. Take care of your mind, body, and soul. Spend the next half hour with the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and get on the journey to better health.
Hello and welcome to Your Family's Health. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College. And today we're going to learn all about our feet and how it is important to keep our feet healthy. Let's find out from our guest and friend of WHPC, Dr. Dennis Fassman, who is a podiatrist with an office on Post Avenue here in Westbury. Dr. Fassman, welcome to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And first of all, I hope you're doing okay in light of this pandemic. Has the virus affected you personally?
Yes, well, more professionally. Personally, I got my vaccinations ASAP. I'm always wearing my mask, not only in the office, but any public places. And obviously in the office, we're super cautious, using all kinds of proper protocol. But knock wood, we've been healthy. My staff has been healthy, and we're trying to be as careful as we can.
So tell us a little bit about what made you become a foot doctor podiatrist. What brought you to that profession?
Good question. I had some minor issues as a younger person, and I happened to visit podiatrists for various reasons. And the field seemed very, very interesting. And in the back of my head, I always wanted to get into medicine. But I did a roundabout route. I was first a special ed teacher for a number of years, got a master's in special ed, etc. And then while I was teaching, a friend of mine who was also teaching, also in the back of his head wanted to become a doctor. And we said, let's do something about it. So because of my prior interest and experience in seeing podiatrists, I started looking into that field a little bit more, and that's where I went. And my friend ended up being a veterinarian. So we went a little bit circumvented, but we got where we wanted to go.
So many people have probably never seen a podiatrist. So let's start from the basics. What is a podiatrist? And what does one treat?
Podiatrist is a licensed doctor to treat any and all conditions in the foot and ankle in New York. We can also treat soft tissue up to the knee, but directly hands-on, any condition, any disease, anything that may occur to the foot or ankle is treatable by a podiatrist.
So why are podiatrists important? Why should someone get checkups, and how often are the checkups that a person should come and get? What is the typical standard?
One, to prevent pain, disease to the foot itself. You don't want to let certain problems go, such as a slight infection can become a major infection, not only to the foot, but remember it's attached to the rest of the body, and that infection can definitely go upwards and affect the rest of the body. Also, if you have a condition that's giving you pain, making you limp, that limp can then affect the knees, the hips, the back. And as a side note, any minor condition in people with poor circulation or diabetic, those minor issues can overnight become major issues. So the general public plus these special populations need to, stay on their feet and get to a podiatrist as soon as they can with any foot or ankle issue.
So am I making an appointment with a podiatrist regularly or only when I feel pain and have issue with the feet?
There are certain populations, again, diabetics, people with poor circulation, they should have regular appointments. Usually every other month, every third month is sufficient for these people. The rest of the population should at least have a screening exam, especially for children. We know that as a young child, you should have automatic pediatrician visits. You should have a dental visit, make sure everything is fine. We love to see when a child is very young and a parent brings in this very young patient and they say, please evaluate my child. Is everything okay? And we evaluate them from a mechanical / biomechanic standpoint, circulatory standpoint, make sure the nervous system is functioning correctly. So a screening, just like in any other specialty, is very important.
So if I make an appointment to come to see you, a podiatrist, what can I expect? Blood work, or is it just a physical exam? What does it all include?
Question again. Depending on our findings, we may order blood tests. We may order vascular tests. So the initial exam covers all the different aspects of the foot, which are the mechanical / orthopedic areas, vascular areas, neurologic areas. So it's a good general screening, and then based upon what we see, then we would direct you possibly to have further blood tests, further x-rays. Although we do our own, we may need special studies such as a CAT scan, MRI.
You treat the foot, you said up until the knee or the ankle?
Okay, directly in New York. The scope of practice differs for every state. So in New York, podiatrist can directly, meaning put his hands on his fingers, cut, do surgery up to the ankle. Indirectly in New York, we're allowed to treat the soft tissues up to the knee. So if you came in with a very common problem such as shin splints, I could treat the foot / the ankle by realigning it, making something to go in the shoe, giving you exercises, and that may very well relieve the shin splints, since most shin splints emanate at the level of the foot.
Okay.
Now, there are other states that directly the podiatrist can treat up to the knee, but in New York, it's directly hands-on up to the ankle. Indirectly, we go up to the knee.
So give me some components of the feet. So I know it's the bones, it's the ligaments. Give me all of the components that we are talking about being involved in the foot.
So this would be a foot, just happen to have it handy. There are 26 bones in the foot, very complicated little structure. And between the 2 feet, it's 1/4 of all the bones in the body. So 26, 52, that's a good number of bones. So we have bones, and then there's over 100 tendons and ligaments, which help support the foot, help support the joints. And then, of course, you have a vast network of nerves, and you have your arteries and veins. So there's a lot in that one little piece of anatomy which can go wrong. And that's why podiatrists spends many years just in training about the feet.
So let's talk a little bit about specific issues that may arise with the foot. One that you probably see often is the ingrown toenail or the corns, the calluses, the bunions. And I know you see a lot of that. Is there a common treatment that you find primarily that you do in your office to treat these kinds of issues?
Probably the most common condition a podiatrist treats are nail problems. Since there are 10 nails, there's a lot that can go wrong. probably fungus nails are number one. The first step in treating the fungus nail is usually to culture it, make sure it is fungus, just as if you went into your family doctor, you look down the throat before you could say for sure it's strep, you would first culture it. So generally, we will culture it and then set up a treatment plan. Many times we'll start with topical medicines. They're safer. We don't have to go into pills, which can cause some systemic problems. So fungus nails are very, very common. The next most common thing would be ingrown nails. Either the nail itself is programmed to be curved, incurvated, so we have to deal with that. If an ingrown nail is allowed to continue and is not treated, then the next step that we may see, ingrown infected nail. And we see a lot of infected nails. And those are easily treated. I don't know if you want me to get into specifics, but ingrown and infected nails are easily treated right then and there in the office.
Yeah, you're listening to Your Family's Health and Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard, and today we're learning all about your feet with our guest and friend of WHPC, Dr. Dennis Fassman, who is a podiatrist with an office on Post Avenue in Westbury. So if I do have the fungus of the toenail, what is a classic sign that I'm having this? Is it the nail becomes mouth-shaped, or is it, tell me the typical look of a fungus nail?
Number one would probably be color change. Number two would be thickness. Those are the two telltale
Telltale sign.
Thank you. Color change and thickness. So anyone that has that should suspect fungus nail, come in, we take a culture.
Where does that come from? Why does the nail become fungus?
Another good question. You have many good questions. Thank you. The fungus is all around us. Why do you catch a cold here or there? That virus is all around. And at certain times, you become susceptible to that virus. The fungus is everywhere. It could be on your own floor. It could be in your shoe. Obviously, if you go into public places, a pool, you go to a hotel, motel room, if you're traveling, it's everywhere. And at certain points, certain people become susceptible. And it is contagious. So if you get it on one nail, more than likely, if you don't treat it, it can go to the other nails, and it can go to family members. So you always want it to be treated.
How do you avoid it?
After you bath or shower, dry your feet very, very well. If you tend to perspire a bit, we recommend certain powders which are made to keep moisture away. It doesn't necessarily have to be a medicated powder, but powders that will keep the environment of the shoe dry. Fungus loves moisture, so we want to keep the environment nice and dry.
Is it easily to get rid of? Do you have to remove the nail, or is it you have an application of medication right on the nail?
Generally, we start with topical medicines. Over the last number of years, the topical medicines have greatly improved. Most of the labs even give you a money-back guarantee. They're so sure it's going to work that we start with topicals. If and when that doesn't work and the patient is still upset because of the look of the nail, then we can go into systemic medicines, which are pills that you take for several months, and generally that will improve the condition.
So you never remove the nail itself to treat the bed?
Usually not.
Okay.
Usually not. It would have to be severely thickened. And in my opinion, or whichever doctor you're going to says the medicine's never going to work, will never penetrate, let's remove this very, very thick nail and let's start from scratch. In those cases, yes, you would remove it, but generally not necessary.
Why does ingrown toenail happen? What happens to the growth of the nail that it starts
Sometimes,
to? Very painful, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it can be. Sometimes the nail is just programmed to grow that way. Just as one hair is programmed to be straight or curly or whatever, sometimes people's nails are just programmed to be curved. Number two, a more common situation is trauma.
Mm.
The chronic trauma due to shoe pressure, and that's why we usually see the big toe getting ingrown and infected the most. Or it can be blunt trauma, if you will. So something drops on it, or you're a soccer player and you kick that part of the toe. So that would drive the nail into the skin.
Mm.
And as we know, skin's a barrier. It's there to protect us. Once that barrier is broken by the nail penetrating the skin, it opens the door up to bacteria. You get enough bacteria in there, hence you get an infection.
How about corns and calluses? I know prevention is key, and I know it's due to pressure, but is there ever a way that you can actually, I know once you reduce the corn or the callus, how can you prevent it from growing back? Is that possible?
Both times, if it's on the top or the sides of the feet, it's a shoe issue. You only have a corn or callus on top of the toes or the foot itself if there's shoe pressure. So you must wear shoes that are appropriate, not too tight. Make sure the toe box, which is the front of the shoe, is roomy enough. Unfortunately, some people have to wear stylish.
Yeah, I have to get rid of my stilettos, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No more 6-inch stilettos. I'm sorry. But again, corns, calluses on top of the toes are due to shoe pressure. Calluses on the bottom are a whole other issue that can do with the alignment of the bones. These are called the metatarsals. I'm sorry. So these long bones are called the metatarsals. Sometimes they're out of place. Sometimes the pressure is not distributed evenly, and that will cause discrete calluses on the bottom. So even though shoes can help by being more cushioned, etc., it's not a direct component of the shoe. That would be more for the corns and calluses on top of the toes or the foot.
So sometimes you're saying if it's on the bottom of the foot, it's just because the body's trying to, I guess, protect itself from the pressure. Exactly. And so you have this overgrowth of skin. So if you are removing it, is it removed permanently, or may it reoccur?
Okay, another great question. So you come in with some pain underneath the foot because of callus. We gently remove it. You don't feel anything. But then the next question that the patient would have is, how do I keep it away? Many times we can make something that goes in the shoe. It's called a custom-made orthotic. It's made from a cast of the patient's foot. We hold the foot in a certain alignment. We do a cast, and that cast gets sent out to a laboratory, and they make something that easily fits inside of a shoe and takes the abnormal pressure off of those bones. That's how you can hopefully eliminate the callus. In very, very severe cases, if the bone is a big, big problem, in very rare cases, you may have to do some surgery to the bone. But that is the exception, not the rule.
So what about these orthotics that I get in the Walgreens or, CVS? Are they good enough?
If you have a slight problem, nothing major, they may fill the bill. But just like your prescription glasses, if you needed something a step above, you need custom-made prescription. So for 5-10% of the population, these over-the-counter, Walgreens, etc., orthotics are fine. But we find most of the time, custom-made prescription orthotics are really necessary, and they should be made with the foot off the ground. Some doctors still do, but was more common years ago. They would take the impression with the foot on the ground. That's totally wrong. So it's like a car. You're aligning the front end. What do? You take the car off the ground, you put it on the lift, and then the mechanic makes his adjustments. So in the same fashion, the foot is put off the edge of the table. The doctor holds the foot in the right alignment, and then the cast is made with the foot in the right alignment. And those casts, the molds, are sent out to a laboratory, and a week, 2 weeks later, the orthotics come in, and then we fit them to the patient and to the shoe.
And in that case, if I use my orthotics, the condition, I guess, won't get worse. It would probably be easier to walk without pain. I guess those orthotics do.
It should be. I'd say orthotics, when properly prescribed, are 90-95% effective.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about bunions. That's when you have the protrusion of the great toe, and why does that happen? I guess it's the pressure, but do you suggest surgery if I have a bunion?
Okay, so that's a two-part question. One, it's not the pressure itself, and it's not the great toe. So if that's clear to you, this is, again, the metatarsal. This is the toe. It's the metatarsal head. This is called the head of the metatarsal. And the side of this first metatarsal starts developing excessive bone. The bone thickens on this part. That is 90% due to the foot function. If the foot is allowed to roll in, which we call pronation. So if the foot rolls in, more pressure is now on the side of that first metatarsal. And after thousands and thousands of steps, the bone will start growing. Just like if I constantly hit my knuckles on the wall, I wanted to toughen up my hand for karate, that bone would thicken. So due to many, many, many thousands of improper steps, that's when you get the bunion. How would you prevent that? Orthotics.
Mm-hmm.
When I see, or podiatrist sees, an early bunion developing, the first thing we think of is mechanics. We look at the patient standing or walking, and we may prescribe an orthotic to prevent that from getting worse. So prevention is always the first step. If and when, and only if and when, the bunion is large enough and causes constant pain, then you consider surgery.
Are patients with flat feet more predisposed to bunions because of their gait changing?
Specific, yes. Yes, and it's not just flat feet, but again, that rolling in. So you or another person, as a lay person, you come in and say, hey, I got flat feet, fine. We look at the foot and we see it's actually rolling in, which we call pronation, and that will give the appearance of a flat foot. And yes, 90-95% of bunions are caused by that, as well as hammer toes. So when you see the bunion due to mechanical reasons, you will see hammer toes. And hammer toes are when the toes start contracting, and that's due to an imbalance in the muscles due to this rolling in.
You're listening to Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard, and today we're learning all about your feet with our guest and friend of WHPC, Dr. Dennis Fassman, who is a podiatrist with an office on Post Avenue here in Westbury. So, doctor, let's move on to another common problem, and that's plantar fasciitis. What is it? And I know it's painful, but tell us, what is it?
Okay. There's a band of tissue that helps to hold the arch up. So if this is clear, this is the heel bone. This is the front of the foot. So there's a band of tissue. Actually, it's 3 bands. It extends from the heel to the front of the end of the metatarsals, and that's called the plantar fascia. and that helps to support the foot. It is very common for that to be strained, and patients come in and they say, "Doc, my arch is killing me." And it could be killing them closer to the heel where it attaches, or it could be midway towards the front of the metatarsals. So it's an inflammation of that band of tissue called the plantar fascia. And the way it's treated is first to support that structure. So if the foot is flattening, or if the foot is rolling in, as we said, pronating, we support that with taping and padding, etc. We do some physical therapy, which could be ultrasound treatment, whirlpool treatments, but very, very importantly, what we call strapping or taping and padding to help temporarily support the arch. After a few treatments, if symptoms don't go away, then we would consider an orthotic, which works perfectly because it's supporting the foot and it's putting the foot into the right alignment.
So many different issues that can occur with the feet. And if people want to get in contact with you or come to see you in the office, how do we get more information about you and your practice?
Okay, we have a website, Dr. Dennis Fassman. And
can you spell that for us?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Dr. Dennis, Dennis, Fassman, F as in Frank, ASSMAN. So if one looks up Dr. Dennis Fassman, Dr. Dennis Fassman, we have a nice website, and also potential patients can call us directly. If I may give the phone number, 516-333-5566.
Do you take insurance?
Yes, we take most insurance.
So if you could leave one thing with the listening audience about the feet, and I know that we all have feet, so what would you leave with us to tell us about our feet?
The first sign of any pain or anything that looks abnormal, please see your podiatrist. Just as with your teeth, at the first sign of pain, don't wait for major problems. Don't wait until you have to go on antibiotics or the doctor has to pull the tooth, etc. It's easier to treat most conditions, as you know, in the early stages. Don't let it get out of hand or out of foot.
Prevention is key.
Absolutely.
And stay away from stiletto heels.
Yes, I've stopped wearing them for years. I would suggest the same to you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here, Podiatrist Dr. Dennis Fassman. We hope you stay safe and continue to stay healthy. And thank you for being our guest today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard from the nursing department here at Nassau Community College. And we want to thank you for listening to this week's edition of Your Family's Health.
We'd like to get your feedback on your family's health. Send your comments by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu. Podcasts of today's show are available on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This program was produced at the studios of Nassau Community College in cooperation with the nursing department. Join us next week for another edition of Your Family's Health on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.